everybody. Welcome to the Weekly Closer. I'm your host, Jeff Underwood, along with my co-host, Joey Sampaga. He is the man with the plan. How's it going today, Joey?
I'm doing good, Mr. Underwood.
You doing all right?
Yeah, we have an awesome guest today.
We do have an amazing guest with us, all the way from Salt Lake.
A Utah Jazz fan.
Oh, well, maybe. I don't know yet. We didn't ask that question, did we? Jason Frazier, founder of theagentmarketer.com. How are you doing, man?
Jason.
I'm doing great, man. How you guys doing?
Good, good. So you just made a big old move. You did the Exit Cali.
I did.
And you're in
Cal
Salt Lake.
Exit. Yeah, the Cal Exit. Yeah, I did that. I absolutely did that. It was time. We've been looking for a couple of years, and we just had a good opportunity to move out here, and we took it. Yeah.
Well, so is it? I think you posted something. You actually, it is a trend, then, right? I mean, people are moving from.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So that's a trend that I saw, being at, I just recently left my mortgage company that I've been for the last 10 years. And so I saw that with that. I saw it with my local agent network in the Bay Area and absolutely, and just in my own, I have a lot of friends that own businesses and they pulled up shop. I had one friend of mine who ran a chiropractor practice. Yeah. And they as a practice were losing about they were losing, I would say, maybe about 15, 20 clients every other month.
Seriously?
Yeah, they were moving to Idaho, Arizona, Texas,
Costa Rica,
Utah. Well, actually, not Costa Rica as much, but other low tax states.
Sure.
Cost of living too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, so why don't you start by introducing yourself, like how long you've been in the mortgage business, right? Because I know you're now transitioning but how long previously in the mortgage business, and what got you started in all this real estate mortgage stuff?
Yeah, so I've been in the mortgage industry as a full-time person since 2009. I actually grew up in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry. It's been in part of the family. So I just never worked in that arena. I come strictly from the venture capital and technology startup world. I used to work for Peter Thiel and some of his various portfolio companies and a lot of other very cool contrarians, as I like to call them, out there, known as the PayPal Mafia. So that's where I came from. But in 2009, I took a sabbatical. Had a shot to join the family business at that time. The mortgage company that I joined, which was part owned by my mom and some other people that I grew up with. They were looking to do something different. They were looking to focus on consumer experience technology. At that time in 2009. No lenders were on social media. They weren't doing any type of real marketing. The technology was a joke. So they really wanted to do something different. So what I did was went in there and decided to do things how I learned how to do them outside of it. And I just have a passion. I grew up being very interested in real estate and mortgage. I don't know what, I couldn't tell you why. It just was something. I'm just very passionate about it and love it. And, the people in it, I think it's because of the entrepreneurship, mostly on the real estate side, because, loan officers tend to have more of a W-2 mentality, for the lack of a better descriptor. But I just love the entrepreneurship. You're your own boss, or you could build your own business. You really have no gatekeepers to how much you could do. Plus, it just doesn't always have to be real estate. You could get into all these different things that'll circle in to creating just a great business model. And so I just thought it was interesting, and I thought it was fun, and I've loved it. I have not yet hated a day doing what I'm doing.
There we go. That's a good thing. So let's jump right into this mortgage thing. And your thoughts about how certain things are going to disrupt, the mortgage industry, if you will. Yep. And there's something called margin compression. I'm hoping that you can share that a little bit more with the agents listening and how that might impact, their referral partners, their mortgage, loan officers that they know. And why don't we just jump right into that first?
Yeah. So the mortgage compression, in short, is basically the margins that a company makes from doing loans, right? And that's been shrinking ever since. And people could say why or why not. A lot of it has to do with regulations from the government and the compliance costs for doing a loan. But it's a high percentage of it, like 60-ish, 65% of it has to do with loan officer compensation. what a mortgage company has to pay a loan. So regardless of what's happened since the meltdown, is loan officers really haven't had to take a cut and pay for the most part. Whatever they were making back, well, not post crash because that was just nonsense, but the cost that a mortgage lender has taken on has not been passed on really to the consumer, and has really not been passed on to hit the bottom line of what a loan officer makes. And when you have that, and even though our costs as a lender are rising, and I'll say are because I was on the executive side and management side of a mortgage lender, is that that's not sustainable, right? If our costs go up and we're not getting any type of love from anywhere else to help with that hit, it's going to hit. And so for the most part, lenders are afraid to do anything about it because they don't want to be the first ones in the water. They don't want to start cutting compensation because they don't want to lose production, especially now with everything going on. And so if you're an agent, if you've seen lenders back out of MSAs like I have, you see a lot of them. I have agents tell me all the time, like, hey, my lender just decided not to do any more lead share with me and stuff like that. It's because it's all hands on deck right now at lenders, right? They have their warehouse banks they have to, go to. They have all their commercial costs for the brick and mortar. They're pulling back unless it is like instant ROI. They're really not investing any time with that. And a lot of these are more of just, let's just be honest. You're renting a desk in a brokerage. You're that preferred lender. You're not really getting every single deal. You may be getting some good business from it, but unless it's penciling out, they're just pulling out of it. So that's where, and then this is what we're agents, right? This is where, agents should take note, because if you're depending on, because I heard it all the time, I have a lender that's covering 50% of this cost and 50% of that cost. What are you going to do as an agent when there's no more lenders doing that and they're investing more in going direct to consumer, which they are, because right now, and for the past 10 years and before that, a consumer was about 80 times more likely to see an agent, see agent marketing, find an agent, go online before they would even do a loan officer. Most consumers think that real estate agents and getting a mortgage is the same thing. They think that, the real estate company does my mortgage. Maybe not, we'll talk about that, but that's not the case. Some people don't even know what a loan officer is, right? And so there's a lot of that going on, and that will affect the agents for those that have kind of hung their hat, or their part of their business plan was getting money from lenders to help with their marketing costs.
Yeah, and I have heard a lot of lenders here in the Valley too that have mentioned, well, maybe not a lot, but a handful of them that are doing everything they can to get that buyer first.
Yep.
On the loan officer side, so that they are generating their own leads.
Yeah, and the reason why is because if I'm a traditional retail lender and I'm not doing consumer direct, if I'm a traditional retail lender, right, and I'm paying my loan officer, that loan officer could be making somewhere around like 140 to 180, maybe a little bit more as far as basis points, right, on a loan. The consumer direct model, going direct to consumer, and what I call the cubicle LOs or the call center LOs, they're getting 45 to 65 basis points. Right, so they're saving a lot of money going direct to consumer than having a traditional retail model. So it just makes more business sense. And if you look back at the last, almost to September, so right, if you're looking at the last 8 months of this industry, the mortgage industry, not only were most companies losing money each quarter, but the ones that were actually profitable, the ones that were making the most, are the ones that had direct to consumer channels. So they're starting to see that now. They're starting to see that going the consumer first as opposed to depending on the agent for referrals is quickly changing.
So it's a stressful time for lenders, especially LOs.
Man, I have never seen so much fear and people being nervous after I did my disruption, stepping on the neck of disruption, basically a playbook on how lenders can stave off as much as they can disruption. I got so many emails about how nervous people are about, the whole millennial question about how do I market to millennials and how do I get them to do that? Because honestly, so many loan officers have just depended on the mortgage company to do everything for them, to send out their set it and forget it marketing, their automation, to pay for their stuff. Lenders aren't doing it. Now lenders are actually charging the loan officers for their CRMs, charging them for the marketing and the flyers and stuff, where they weren't doing that before because they're just trying to survive right now. And so, that has a domino effect across everything.
Right, right. Well, and as interest rates are going up now, right? So obviously the refinance business has essentially dried up,
Yep.
From what we've seen before. And you hear of some of the bigger companies. Who is it? Ditech, I think the other day announced laying off like 450 people
Yep.
or something.
Yep.
So they're hearing all these, these doom and gloom of these companies laying off. What do you think is gonna? I mean, in your professional opinion, right? I mean, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but what?
Yep.
Are we going to see mortgage companies like closing down parts of their lending operations?
Yeah.
I mean,
and in fact, there was just a big one that just closed down today. I can't remember the name of it. Equity Mortgage, America had Equity Mortgage, I think, shut its doors. And a lot of it is because they didn't invest, they didn't innovate. They actually just tried to and this is what I talked about in my webinars. I want everyone, and this is important for agents and loan officers. We're not going through a cycle right now. We're going through a shift. We're going through a shift and convergence of consumerism, technology, social, just culture, everything that's totally different right now. And so a lot of these mortgage companies are thinking cycle. Oh, it's going to go back to what it was or goes back to this. And no, it's not. And if you're thinking in terms of cycle, you're just not going to survive. So we saw that one just shut down recently. Me personally, and I mastermind with a lot of, executives from other mortgage lenders, other real estate companies, other vendors that support the industry. And so we all kind of agree that within the next 3 to 5 years, I'm thinking more it's 3, that 70% of the independents that you see today in the mortgage lending space will not be around anymore. They won't exist. They will either have gone out of business, like Equity did today, or they're going to merge. And so we're going to see super lenders coming up. So you're going to see more acquisitions by like a Loan Depot, right? Or you're going to see Caliber start buying up some more people. Quicken is always going to be Quicken, so that's just one thing that you don't have to deal with. But and then now you got Zillow entering in the mortgage market, which is what created my whole article, created the whole webinar, because everyone started freaking out. But everyone needs to understand right now is that Amazon will eventually buy a mortgage lender. It's been rumored for the last year. It's definitely going to happen at some point. They're also going to buy a real estate company. That's going to happen. Zillow will eventually, because it makes good, and it's not a knock on Zillow. I'm not that type of guy, right? I'm not going to blame a business for seeing opportunity and taking advantage of it. But when people are like, look, Zillow entered the mortgage market. Oh, surprise to everybody except anyone that was paying attention, right? It's like, if I'm a platform where all these and forget real estate, if I'm a platform where all these transactions, all this communication, all this business is happening through, why would I not try to figure out how I could capitalize on that without paying other people or moving that business off somewhere else? Now, with that being said, over close to 73% of Zillow's revenue is from agents, right? So until they have a business model that will replace that revenue, agents don't have anything to worry about. But as you see with instant offers and Zillow, they're going to dip their toe. They're going to look at the market, and if they see an opportunity, don't kid yourself. Zillow's a business, and just like any business should, if it becomes more economical for them to be a brokerage and do kind of what Redfin's doing and capitalize on their 165 million hits to their website, their trust, the reach, the consumer intention, all that stuff, then they absolutely will do it. No matter what you hear from Zillow, Jay Thompson, he's a friend of mine, love that guy, he's great, and I don't think he lies at all, and everyone always calls him a liar and all this, and it's just stupid and nonsense.
Right.
It's just, at this time, that's not Zillow's interest. Zillow's interest is serving the Premier Agent program, giving them leads, and that's what it is. But the second that it turns out to where they could do something different, they will. I mean, they just will. And like I said, like any good business is. And so if you're an agent or a mortgage lender, you need to start trying to be where people are going to first as opposed to going to Zillow. Yeah,
that's what I was just thinking as you were talking through this is all these agents that Zillow is maybe their number one source of leads.
Yep.
When that's gone, what's going to happen, right?
What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do when you can't pay the $15,000 to $30,000 a month in lead spend? Like what are you if you have, and especially if you have a team and new agents that all they know is how to be fed and they don't know how to fish, what are you going to do when that goes away? What do you think you're just going to roll over to Realtor.com that has shown that they can't do anything right ever? I mean, no, you're not. You're just not going to do that. So there's a reason to do that now. I'm not saying if you're making money and you're doing good business through Zillow leads, I'm never going to say don't buy leads. What I'm going to say is that just like anything, you need to diversify, right? You need to diversify where your business is coming from. You never want to put your eggs in any one basket, no matter how lucrative it is, because eventually stuff changes or it gets more expensive. You know how many agents that were doing a lot of spend in Zillow the last 6 years that are no longer doing Zillow leads, either because of just opinion or feels, but also because their leads went from, $30 to $50 a lead to $250 to $400 a lead.
Yeah. Oh, no, totally. Well, why don't you? So you've mentioned this this webinar that you did, this article and this webinar. What are some of the highlights from that that you think people need to understand as far as making yourself disruptive or disruption proof, whether that's mortgage or real estate?
Yeah. So, and it's the same. And so I didn't come up. I mean, a lot of people say it, but in our industry, a friend of mine, Dave Savage, he's the founder and CEO of Mortgage Coach.
Yep.
He does that. He does, make yourself disruption proof. He talks about that. And you can't ever make yourself disruption proof. You just can't. But what the best thing you could do, and the stuff that I talk about, is one is, again, we just talked about it, learn how to fish. Don't depend on being fed. When you ask, sorry, I need to turn off my notifications here. If you have that mentality of being fed and you don't know how to fish, when that stuff dries up, you're just going to be in a bad position. So it's always best to understand how you could do any given thing. And then that's the first thing. The second thing is understand the main driver in the social economy, with the state of consumerism as it is right now, in the self-service, on-demand generation that we're in, the main driver of any business, but especially real estate and lending, the main driver is going to be marketing, because it's all about reach and attention. I don't care how low your rates are. I don't care how many houses you sold. I don't care, how much over asking and how days on the market. I don't care about any of that if I don't know who you are, if I can't find you, if you don't have my attention, if you don't have any, and all that only comes through communication and marketing, right? So that's going to be a main driver of getting people to you. Now, you got to do stuff when they come to you, but you got to get them to you, and so that's marketing.
Get a little bit more passionate about that one. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, I'm pretty dry, right?
No.
This stuff sucks. Now, so marketing is going to be right. The third thing, and I talked about this with Neil Mathwig, who and a good guy, is understanding the difference between a brand and a commodity. Commodity is all over the place. You could get it anywhere. It's gasoline, right?
Yep.
So if you're a commodity, no one cares. They get gas where they need to get. I mean, they may have a favorite. They like to go to Chevron or Shell or whatever.
Wherever they have to go before they run out.
Exactly. But if they need it, right? If they need it, that's not going to matter. But brands breed loyalty. They breed passion. They breed want, right? That's brands. Brands are memorable, right? People remember a brand, and you got to understand that as a real estate professional or a mortgage professional, the best thing we have at our disposal is the emotional element of the real estate transaction. Emotions hit here, right in the chest, in your heart. That will be memorable if you do it right, if you have your messaging right and everything else. That will be a memorable element to where you could focus on things that I know that you care about, which is the customer lifetime value. You don't want the transaction, you want the relationship, because you don't just want to close on that one house, help someone buy that one house. You want to help their kids, you want to help their grandparents, their cousins, their neighbors, and all that other stuff. The only way that happens is that if you're a brand and you're memorable, and what my friend David Greenspan calls mind share. So when someone thinks real estate, they think Jeff Underwood, right? And I think, Jeff, you do a great job with your minimalist agent, because that's something that you could expand upon. That's a passion. That's commonality with other people that feel the same way. We talked a little bit about that in San Diego, a year or two ago. So those are the three things. And I talked about other stuff, and then mostly like tools, like focusing on your CRM, like the agents, who say like, what's the best CRM? It's like, if I hear that question one more time, my head's going to explode. The best CRM, no matter what other people tell you, is the one that you're going to use. And other people will say, I won't mention any names, but they'll say, well, no, it's wrong. It's the CRM that has all these, text, QR codes, and whatever. The net value of zero is zero, right? So if they don't use it, it doesn't matter how great the QR codes or the texting follow-up or YLOPO or, Get Riley or Agentology. None of that crap matters if they don't use it. And so, if it's a spreadsheet, then awesome, then use it. But you need to understand how important data is. If anything that you should have learned as an agent and now as a loan officer from Zillow is that data rules the world, right? And you are getting all this data as an agent. You're getting their dreams, you're getting their family, their birthdays, you're getting everything. If you're not capitalizing on that, you are leaving money on the table, right? So focus on the data. Focus on the data. So that's the thing, is use the tools that are at your disposal, learn them. Take a weekend, right? Don't watch, don't do a binge on Hulu or Netflix or watch the new Marvel movie. Well, I don't know, maybe you should watch the new Marvel movies, but take the time out. If you're in this business and this is, I'll get definitely passionate about this. If you decided to do this business, if you decided to be a loan officer or a real estate agent, if you decided to do this, then do it right. Put some freaking heart and passion into it and decide, like, hey, I'm going to do what it is. I'm going to take 8 hours, yes, 8 hours, to learn how to use my CRM the best way. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to listen to podcasts like this one and have guests on to tell me how I should be focusing on something or things to look at. You need to put time. If this is a profession, like I hear agents and loan officers tell me all the time, this is a professional business, then treat it like a profession. Don't treat it as like a hobby and then maybe I'll get to it. To me, if you're using a Gmail or a Yahoo address, you are not invested in your profession. You need to have a brand. Your brand isn't Gmail. It isn't Yahoo. It isn't number1agent@gmail.com. It's number1agent@number1agent.com. That's your brand. Don't go out there and try to do all this free stuff because it's economical and it's cool to bootstrap stuff, right? I get it, right? Everyone's got to start from nothing at some point, right? But at the same time, everything I'm talking about doesn't cost a lot of money, right? It just doesn't. And if you decided to go into this business, then put everything into it. Be professional. Learn the CRM systems. Learn the marketing systems. Do your own drip campaigns. Don't use the automated crap that they give you that a consumer is getting from a lender perspective. You're all, because look, or do you think the agent, you're the only loan officer that's ever talked to that real estate agent, right? And then you guys are all using the main standard CRM system, and then that agent gets 20 automated emails of the same subject, and sometimes it's as stupid as like, hey, waterproof your house. And it's like, oh, well, thank you. That's awesome relationship building right there. So, I mean, that's what I focused on my webinars. Look, be a brand, be a professional, understand that if you're an agent, understand that if you're a loan officer, you are the CEO of your own small business, and act like it, right? Act like it. Go out there and earn it and do it. I'll tell you right now, 100% of the time, people that do that are successful. They are, right? I mean, yes, there's some luck involved, there's some execution involved, but it's got to start somewhere, and that's the foundation.
Love it.
Get back to work, you slacker.
Oh, gosh. Joey, did you do that one? No, I'm just teasing.
I thought you were talking to me. So.
Oh, you're over there. I see you over there. You weren't sleeping, though. I saw you paying attention.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This has been great, man. I appreciate it so much.
It's good stuff.
So you are founder of The Agent Marketer at theagentmarketer.com, which is teaching agents and loan officers and title people, I think, about best ways to market or different platforms to potentially use. What would you say, if you're looking down the road, right, a year or two, where do you think a lot of people should start putting their attention? And I know we could say, well, the one that you use, right, is going to be the best one.
Yeah.
And where your people are is probably the best one. But where do you think people are going to get the best bang for their buck going forward with some of these platforms?
So one is, and I cannot believe that I still have to say this, but more places I go, I do. But social media, if you're not on it, there is earthly no reason. Look, I don't like everything about social media either, right? But you got to be on it, because in the end of the day, I don't care if meeting at the local park in my community was what 90% of the people did, I would be at the park. Right? You go where people are. You go where their attention is, whether you like it or not. You need to put away what you like and don't like, because in the end, nobody cares whether you like it or not. It only matters what the consumer cares about, what the consumer likes. So be well there are. So social media. But I will say right now, if I'm looking at trends, and the stats are scary, but if I'm looking at trends, it's what we're doing right here. It's voice marketing. It's podcasting. It's flash briefings. It's understanding the popularity and the rise of the voice-enabled device, the speakers at home. You have the Echo, the Dots. You have Google Home. You have, Apple's, they'll eventually get there, but, they have their thing that they're trying to do. And then you have cars. You have Siri on your phone. You have all these things that are voice-enabled. There's a reason. The one thing no matter where you were born, no matter what economical background that you came from, no matter your race, your sex, no matter anything, the one thing that everyone has when they're born is time, right? Notwithstanding medical issues, right? But just being real, everyone has the same amount of time. Everyone wants their time saved. They want efficient. Nobody has time to do anything anymore. So it's all about the passive listening. How many things can I do while other stuff is happening? And you can't do that if you're watching video all the time. I think, and I know I'm not the only one, but I'll tell you, perfect example is I upgraded to YouTube Red. Now it's called YouTube Premium, but I upgraded to YouTube Red not because I wanted premium content. I only did that so I could minimize the app and still listen to it while I was working out, and because I couldn't physically watch a video the entire time, mostly for like Gary Vee stuff, right? That's the only reason I did that. And that to me, when I did that, I was like, wow, it's a video platform that I upgraded to so I could just listen to audio. Right, and when I've said that to other people, they're like, I did the same thing. And so that should show you, like, if you look back at the stats of how crazy video has gone, right, from when it started, and people think, oh, well, no one's going to do this, no one's going to do that, no one's going to, listen to, do all that, watch this stuff, and they do. If you look at those same stats of attention, and I don't have them in front of me, but they're eerie. If you look at the voice stats, they're right in line with video on some categories, and sometimes they're like 20 or 30% higher if you look back at like a timeline of video and the popularity. So I'll say right now, if you're listening to this, you need to be starting a podcast. You need to be doing flash briefings. You need to understand how you can capitalize on those voice-enabled speakers, because that is what people are going to end up doing. They're doing it now, and they're going to end up doing it again because they could do it while they're showering, driving a car. I've been at people's houses with get-togethers where they had a podcast playing in the background. It was a sports podcast, right? So it's like, even that, it's better to have that white noise going on and stuff like that. I run into so many people that listen to podcasts more than they watch video now, and I think if you, and the last thing that I'll say in regards to what they should be focusing on, focus on other consumer-centric verticals and see what those advertisers are doing. See what those brands are doing to reach the consumers, because you need to get outside of the bubble, right? You need to get outside of the bubble, and because those brands that meet the consumers and have their attention, those marketing tactics can absolutely be used for what we're doing over here.
Yeah. So as far as the voice, all the Alexa and all that stuff, right? I haven't studied this, so I haven't looked into it, but how fast is that growing as far as consumers that actually have those devices and are using them now? Is it like exponent? I mean, is it just taking off big time or what?
Yeah, so I think in the last, when I was looking at these last stats, I want to say I want to say it's grown 35%, so 5.8 million. As actual voice-enabled devices in houses in 2018, past what they were in 2017. People listening to podcasts, I want to say it's somewhere like around 45-50%, somewhere around there. So it's growing, and we're talking about a little amount of time, right? It's just growing as people are seeing it, and in fact, and it's what's funny is that it's about consuming content, right? Everyone thought, oh, these voice-enabled devices, so I could order stuff, and those are the jokes. You see them in movies, you see them on TV and stuff like that. But if you look at the stats, people really aren't using them to order stuff. People aren't using them to order product. I have never used my Echo to do anything other than to listen to music, podcast, and flash briefings, and also to control the lights in my office. Other than that, and that's what people are doing too. Now, eventually, people will, maybe use the buttons, and then you get the voice-enabled, appliances like your refrigerator and stuff to keep track of milk and things of that nature. Yes, we're going to get to that point, but I think to the point that people I hate to kind of go off my thought here or go back, but I think what people understand is like, well, we've had the technology for the while, we've had internet for the while, late 90s, early 2000s. People have used the last, I would say honestly, like the last 15 years to get comfortable with the idea of living an internet-connected life, right? And now they're here. And that's what I've seen the difference, is that now people are comfortable doing this, right? People are comfortable having this stuff in their house or control their houses and their cameras and security systems and stuff like that. People are comfortable with, using Venmo, having DoorDash, and having Apple Pay on their phone, so cash is just nothing anymore, right? People are comfortable with that now. And so now, instead of seeing like a go-to-market strategy from a product perspective, right? Not from, like from a company perspective, but from the product being like embraced by the public and the consumer and being used. You see that used to see maybe a few years, stuff like that. Now you're seeing it's months, right? Maybe a couple quarters, maybe half a year, maybe a year total. But this stuff just happens so quick now.
Got it. And my understanding of flash briefings are that you can basically tell Alexa or whatever, right? Give me my flash briefings, and it will, whatever you've subscribed to, I guess, it will just start rattling those off.
Absolutely. So you could either do it through the Alexa app, and I got to be careful because
it'll start doing things.
Yeah, I just started going. So the A word, right, as we'll call it, But so you have the app or you have your device. And so through the app, you could subscribe to little the flash briefings, right? Like Gary Vee or mine or, or some other people that are in our network, right? And they're 10 minutes long, or they can be up to 10 minutes long. Sweet spot is about 1 to 4 minutes, right? For what we've seen. But again, test your own market, see what people, go after. And they're like little news, and you could do dailies, right? I do Monday through Friday. It's called the Agent Marketer Flash. So if, just a quick plug, if you guys do have a voice-enabled speaker or whatever, I'd appreciate it. You just go to Amazon, go to the Alexa Skills option, and then just enable the Agent Marketer Flash, and then you'll get the daily briefing. You say the A word, give me my flash briefing, and then she'll play everything that you have in your queue. And I know a lot of people that do this, in the morning when they're getting ready or they're just starting their work and things like that. Instead of having the news on or music, they listen to that. So they do that. And you could talk about marketing news. And the reason why I brought this up is because the real estate vertical on this is wide open. It's very fertile. In fact, I take pride in this, but the first mortgage-based flash briefing was actually done by one of the members of the Agent Marketer. So she is the only one to have. It's called a Mortgage Minute, and so she's the only one that has that on there. And there's not that many real estate on there. There's probably about 5. Dustin Brome, who we both know, he's got the Massive Agent Minute on there. Myrtle Beach Real Estate has one on there, and then there's I think a Real Estate Flash is it's called. A couple others, but there's not too much on there. So you could really start doing this stuff and then figure out how you could use this as micro content to get to, maybe your podcast,
or get them to the podcast,
get them to the podcast, or get them to your blog or other stuff, or you get out of real estate and you're like, okay, I'm going to do a community focused flash briefing, so like that everyone's going to like, hey, what's happening in like my town of South Jordan? Like, what's happening in South Jordan, Utah this weekend, right? And I could just build a flash briefing based off of that, right? And then again, just getting them knowing you and getting you as a trusted part of your community. Then you could actually feed them into your real estate or mortgage business as well.
Got it. No, that's awesome, man. Appreciate that. Do you think that agents need to not talk so much just about real estate and start talking about other things?
Yes, and yes. So a lot of the agents that I know now, and I'm going to mention 2 of them. One is Dustin Brome, obviously. He does great with his Salt Lake Insider and his community-focused content, what he's building here. Rick Gonzalez, and he does the Freeport Insider in Florida. Those are all community-focused, right? And so they get a lot of attention, which is just talking about the community, things to note, just things that have nothing to do with real estate. Nothing to do with real estate. Because in the end, right, if I'm a consumer and I'm following you, following your Facebook page, following your YouTube channel, your podcast, whatever, if all you talk about is real estate, I mean, yes, I understand you want to use it as a lead magnet, and there's ways to do that as far as a strategy is concerned. But I'm going to stop following you, right? Because I don't care about mortgage rates if I just bought a house, right? I don't, right? I don't care about what the best listings are in this neighborhood when I just bought a house or I just sold out of that neighborhood, and you helped me do that, right? Talk to me about stuff I care about. Talk to me about stuff that we could find commonality. I brought up, your minimalism, right? Same thing. There's commonality with that, right? People, that's interesting. right? It's something that people are going to follow. Do you like to snowboard? Do you ski? Do you fish? Do you other stuff? Talk about that. Then also talk about your community, because I'll tell you right now, it's not just this industry, but a lot of small business owners and brands, they don't do that stuff. They don't think about micro, right? They don't think about a market and how to do Pismo Beach or Phoenix, Arizona, right? Nobody's thinking about in those terms. They're just thinking about how can I talk to everybody and get in front of everybody, right? So this is how you do that, by creating some value and some good content based off of what people locally care about, because then they're going to talk about it, right? Oh, did you listen to the Salt Lake Flash today, or did you listen to the Phoenix Flash today about what's going on, or the new construction that's happening, or that they're building a Chick-fil-A or a Topgolf or some other stuff? Be the place where people go. If you can't go into an already established party, if you can't get past the door guy, then build your own club. Right? Build your own club, and that's what this allows you to do.
That's awesome, man. Hey, I think I'm going to do a flash briefing for Phoenix weather. I can record it one time and let it play for 90 days straight. Weather will be over 100 today. Weather will be over 100 today, and just repeat. No. Oh, gosh.
It would work, too. People would tie into that, right?
There we go. Well, Jason, thank you so much for being on here, man. Let's see. A best way for people to reach out to you, I guess, just the agentmarketer.com probably, right? If they want to
agentmarketer.com or the Agent Marketer on Facebook.
All right. Cool, man. So let me ask just a couple of quick little questions then. How about what's your favorite mobile app? I forgot to ding the bell. Boom, there you go. Now you're in the ring.
Shoot. My favorite mobile app right now, honestly, I would have to say it's Instagram.
All right. Wow. So, but not so much the IGTV, correct?
Not IGTV.
All right.
Nobody's using it right. So, just Instagram.
Okay. All right. How about a favorite book or book recommendation?
Book recommendation, Not Taught by Jim Keenan.
Not Taught. All right. And why don't we finish with who's your favorite Marvel character?
Ooh. Jeez.
You talked about Marvel earlier, so I figured...
I know it's probably a homer. It's like a homer answer because everyone says it, but honestly, nobody's better than Wolverine.
All right.
I don't think everyone says that. Yeah.
Well, now they say Captain America or Deadpool.
Yeah, that's Jeff.
But come on, Wolverine was cool before the movies. He's cool.
He's still cool
after, and he's still cool. So. Nobody cares about Captain America.
Oh, come on. He's got some of the best one-liners.
He does. I love the movies and stuff like that, but yeah, no. Wolverine.
I was really impressed with the latest Thor movie. It was so comical.
That was my favorite. Some people thought it went too funny, but honestly, I think it needed that. I wasn't a fan of the first one. Not much in the second one. I liked them. Don't get me wrong, I liked them. But I will say number 3 was my favorite by a long shot.
Hulk made that one super fun.
Oh man, that was Jeff Goldblum. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
All of it. There was nothing bad about that movie.
That's awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much for being on. We truly appreciate you taking time out of your day. We know you're busy.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Awesome, bro. All right, well, until next time, guys, it's Jeff Underwood.
And Joey Sampaga.
Signing off from Security Title Studios. We'll see you later.
Adios.
Bye-bye.